Alright everyone, here's the next part of Sidney's birthday special in which we're going to be playing some CD-ROM games. First of which is going to be the 1995 PC version of Jeopardy. And we'll just do like general...
Welcome to Jeopardy! Let's begin our game.
Alright, let's do it. I'm going to be him. Enter key. Yeah, we'll let her be a player. And I'll let her be a player. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Sandra Hart. I'm a practicing psychiatrist, and I also teach neural anatomy at a medical school. During my vacation time, I love to travel.
Hello, my name is Carmen Lopez. I write movie scripts. And to tell the truth, I spend most of my free time in front of the TV.
Let's play.
All right, contestants, let's begin round one. There's one daily double on the board, and here are the categories.
Anatomy. Famous names. We have Shakespearean characters, and we're going to close it out with Chinese history. All right.
Good luck. Contestant number one, we'll start with you.
Anatomy for 100.
Let's take a look at the answer.
The words cordial and courage come from core, Latin for this body part.
Contestant number two?
Sandra doesn't know.
Sorry, that's incorrect. Contestant number one?
What is the heart?
You are correct. Contestant number one?
The human integumentary system is made up of the skin, hair, and these.
Contestant number one?
What are nails?
You are correct. Contestant number one?
The cerebral cortex is part of the brain, and the renal cortex is part of this organ.
Contestant number one?
What are the kidneys?
You are correct. Contestant number one?
They're the first glands to go to work on food that's eaten.
Contestant number one?
What are the salivary glands?
You are correct.
Right.
Contestant number one?
This muscle comes in minimus, medius, and maximus varieties.
Contestant number three?
The gluteus, I think so.
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number three?
His name was at the bottom of the letter published January 3rd, 1898, that opened with J'accuse.
Contestant number one?
Who was Oscar Wilde?
Sorry.
No.
Contestant number three?
Emile Zola. That's
You
right.
are correct.
Zola.
Contestant number three?
This dynasty that ruled 1368 to 1644 was the last whose ruling family was of Chinese origin.
Contestant number two?
The Ming Dynasty.
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number two?
In northern Peru, the Ucayali and Maranon rivers merged to form this mighty river.
Contestant number one?
What is the Amazon?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number one?
This river separates El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juarez, Mexico.
Contestant number one?
What is the Rio Grande?
You are correct. Contestant number one?
Ontario is the shortest of the Great Lakes, and this is the longest.
Contestant number one?
What is Lake Superior?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number one?
Uganda contains parts of Lake Albert, and this lake over 10 times larger.
Contestant number one?
What is Lake Victoria?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number one?
Franklin D. Roosevelt Lake is the reservoir behind this dam on the Columbia River.
Contestant number one?
What is the Grand Coulee Dam?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number
Chinese
one?
History 100. China's Shang Dynasty capital, Anyang, was in the lower valley of this colorful river.
Contestant number one?
What is the Yellow River?
You are correct. Contestant number one?
In the 15th century, Captain Cheng Ho explored as far as Somaliland on this continent.
Contestant number three?
Africa, I knew that one, but I didn't get in time.
Good job. Contestant number three?
Oh, well. Legend says that this founder of Taoism was born an old man with white hair in 604 BC.
Contestant number 2?
Mao Tzu? No way.
Sorry, incorrect. Contestant number 3.
Lao Tzu?
You are correct. Contestant number 3.
The first of these in China opened in 1876, connecting Shanghai and Wusong.
Contestant number 3.
A railroad?
Yes,
Yep.
that's correct. Contestant number 3.
Each year in June, ceremonies at the Betsy Ross House in Philadelphia mark this holiday.
Contestant number 3.
Flag Day?
You are correct. Contestant number 3.
In 1954, Public Law 83-380 changed the name of this holiday to Veterans Day.
Contestant number 1.
What is Armistice Day?
You are correct. Contestant number 1.
National UNICEF Day is observed on the same date as this holiday.
Contestant number 1.
What is Halloween?
You are correct. Contestant number 1.
This holiday's first observance was probably an 1882 parade organized by a Union founder.
Contestant number 1.
What is Labor Day?
You are correct. Contestant number 1.
Although Julia Ward Howe suggested this holiday in 1872, Anna Jarvis is credited as its founder.
Contestant number 2.
Mother's Day.
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 2.
He's the only governor of New Jersey to become president.
Contestant number 3.
Woodrow Wilson, yep.
You are correct. Contestant number 3.
Antony says over him, "Thou art the ruins of the noblest man that ever lived in the tide of times."
Contestant number 1.
Who's Julius Caesar? Alright.
Yes, select again.
Shakespearean characters for 400.
Contestant number 1. The clue? It's the Daily Double. Contestant number 1. What would you like to wager? The answer is...
She's the woman to whom Claudius is married in Hamlet.
Oh, sorry.
Rude.
That's not right. Contestant number 1.
In As You Like It, Touchstone is one of these silly guys at Duke Frederick's court.
Contestant number 1.
What is a jester?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 1.
Emilia, Desdemona's sharp-tongued lady in waiting, is this villain's wife.
Contestant number 1.
Iago.
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 1.
Shrewd suitor who says, "I come to wive it wealthily in Padua. If wealthily, then happy in Padua."
Contestant number 1.
Petruchio.
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 1.
On April 5th, 1951, this husband and wife were sentenced to die as atom spies.
Contestant number 1.
Who were Julius and Ethel Rosenberg?
You are correct. Contestant number 1.
He roamed far afield from his birthplace of Crescent, Pennsylvania. In 1909, he was at the North Pole.
Contestant number 2.
Roald Amundsen. No.
Contestant number 3.
Admiral Byrd? No.
Sorry, that's incorrect.
I don't remember this one, so I'm going to hold back. I've got a big lead right now with $4,100, so that's good. Robert E. Perry.
Contestant number 1.
This mistress of Louis XV cared for her famous hairdo by dressing it with veal fat and vanilla.
Contestant number 3.
Madame de Pompadour. I knew that one, but
Yes, that's correct.
Double Jeopardy.
Now for the Double Jeopardy round, with 2 Daily Doubles somewhere on the board
US
in
history,
these categories.
Women authors, Broadway musicals, assassinations, and we're going to close it out with famous folk.
Good luck. Contestant number 2, we'll start with you. The answer is...
Schliemann felt this city's second settlement was the one of Homer's epics. Now it seems to be the 7th.
Contestant number 2?
Troy.
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 2?
Siri Purdue or lost wax, the process of casting figures, was developed during this age.
Contestant number 1?
What is the Bronze Age?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 1?
Common dating techniques are carbon-14, counting tree rings, and analyzing grains of this.
Contestant number 3?
What is it, wheat?
Sorry.
No.
Contestant number 2?
Sands? No.
Oh, sorry. That's not right.
Pollen.
Contestant number 1?
This term covers anything made by man, from a needle to a pyramid.
Contestant number 2?
Illustration?
Incorrect. Contestant number 3?
An artifact.
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 3?
Sir Leonard Woolley is known for his excavations of the Sumerian city with a very short name.
Contestant number 3?
Rue?
Oh, sorry. That's not right. Contestant number 2?
Ur? There you go.
Yes. Contestant number 2? Let's take a look at the answer.
In 1885, the post office began this service that sent mail more quickly for an extra fee.
Contestant number 1?
What is express mail?
Incorrect. Contestant number 3?
Special delivery? Okay.
Right. Contestant number 3?
In 1913, the 16th Amendment was ratified, authorizing a tax on this.
Contestant number 2?
Income.
You are correct. Contestant number 2?
In 1957, he was named Burma's permanent representative to the UN.
Contestant number 3?
You don't?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that's correct. Contestant number 3?
Un violon sur le toit was a French version of this Broadway smash. Fiddler on the Roof. Okay.
Contestant number 3? Let's take a look at the answer.
Michael J. Pollard played teenager Hugo Peabody in this musical about a rock star who gets drafted.
Contestant number 2?
Bye Bye Birdie?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 2?
He was stabbed to death March 5th, 44 BC, just days before he was to begin a new military campaign.
Contestant number 1?
Who was Julius Caesar?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 1? Let's take a look at the answer.
In 1933, Chicago Mayor A. Cermak was accidentally killed during an attempt on this president-elect's life.
Contestant number 1?
Who was Franklin Delano Roosevelt?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 1?
World War I was triggered by the assassination of this Archduke and his wife in 1914.
Contestant number 1?
Who was Franz Ferdinand?
You are correct. Contestant number 1?
While in Mexico in 1940, this revolutionary was murdered with a pickaxe, presumably by a Soviet agent.
Contestant number 1?
Who was Leon Trotsky?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 1? Contestant number 1? What would you like to wager?
Only. He supposedly said, "Be easy with them, boys," after he was shot down by Leon Zolgos. I have no idea.
Oh, sorry. That's not right. Contestant number 1?
Broadway musical was 200. Dogpatch is almost hit by an atom bomb in this 1956 musical.
Contestant number 2?
Lil Abner.
You are correct. Contestant number 2.
In 1952, Cloris Leachman briefly starred as Ensign Nellie Forbush in this musical.
Contestant number 3.
South Pacific.
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 3.
The musical review Five Guys Named was inspired by Jasmine Louis Jordan, not by the Three Stooges.
Contestant number 1.
What is Mo?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 1.
Dennis Folk 200. He's credited with establishing the world's largest fingerprint file.
Contestant number 2.
J. Edgar Hoover.
You are correct. Contestant number 2.
For directing the Watergate burglary, he got a sentence of 2.5 to 8 years, but served only 32 months.
Contestant number 2.
E. Howard Hunt.
Yes,
Yep.
that's correct. Contestant number 2.
Okay, she's going to do $800 on this clue in Famous Folk. His rescue of 2 EDS employees from a prison in Iran was the subject of Ken Follett's On Wings of Eagles. H. Ross Perot.
Yes,
There you go.
that's correct. Contestant number 2.
This lawyer once said, "Criminal law has made me a rebel by profession."
Contestant number 2.
Arthur Goldberg.
Sorry.
I think I have a gut feeling on this one. If I were to ring in, I'd say who is F. Lee Bailey. And I would have been right.
Contestant number 2.
Oh well. In 1790, Philadelphia replaced this city as the new capital of the U.S.
Contestant number 1.
What is New York City?
You are correct. Contestant number 1.
During an 1832 expedition, Lake Itasca was discovered to be the source of this river.
Contestant number 1.
What is the Mississippi?
You are correct. Contestant number 1.
When the Electoral College failed to agree on a VP in 1836, Richard Johnson was elected by this body.
Contestant number 2.
The Senate. I think so.
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 2.
Susan Strasberg tells about her friendship with this woman in her book, Marilyn and Me.
Contestant number 1.
Who is Marilyn Monroe?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 1.
After writing about Hollywood wives, she turned her eye on Hollywood husbands.
Contestant number 3.
Jackie Collins.
You are correct. Contestant number 3.
The Tale of the Body Thief was this author's 4th novel about the vampire Lestat.
Contestant number 1.
Who is Anne Rice?
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 1.
From 1949 to 1956, this Princess Daily author was a fashion editor for Good Housekeeping.
Contestant number 3.
Not Brown.
Sorry, incorrect. Contestant number 2.
Judith Krantz.
Yes, that's correct. Contestant number 2.
Last clue. On a 1987 trip to China, this author of the Joy Luck Club met 2 of her half-sisters for the first time.
Contestant number 1.
Who is Amy Tan?
Yes, that's correct. The final Jeopardy category is contestant number 1.
101.
What would you like to wager? The final Jeopardy clue is...
Caught either way, so... His father, Eugene, an immigrant from Sicily, taught my husband from the French
Contestant number 3, your final Jeopardy response was, good job. Let's see what contestant number 3 wagered.
$9,599.
Your total? Contestant number 2, your final Jeopardy response was, yes, that's correct. Let's see what contestant number 2 wagered.
Oh, well, at least I tried.
Your total?
All right.
Contestant number 1, your final Jeopardy response was, sorry, incorrect. Let's see what contestant number 1 wagered. Your total? Contestant number 1, you are now the reigning Jeopardy champion. Congratulations.